ponytail, denim shirt, pearl snap with your safety glasses on.
Yep, can't see my head in that shot.
Voiceover Marla jumping in here. Let's try out a new project. I am making my first attempt at wood burning and giving it a shot on bamboo, pine, and cedar. I used a hobby kit that I got at Harbor Freight about 12 years ago, and yes, this is the first time I've used it. It solders and burns wood and leather and comes with multiple tips, and we'll give all of those wood burning tips a try. There's some steam that comes off the wood as it burns, so I learned that glasses were necessary. For each piece that I burned, I first grabbed a carpenter's pencil and wrote out what I wanted to burn into the wood. We'll come back to this particular block of wood in a minute. I just forgot to get video of me writing on the cedar block that I started with. I first started with the fine tip. Not sure if there's an actual name for that. It dragged a bit because it got caught in the wood grain. I also forgot to get video using this tip, but the first letter H was done with this. It looked jumpy and a bit messy, so I actually went over the H with a tip that I'm going to move on to next. Since I wasn't liking the way that the fine tip looked, I changed to the rounded tip. Spoiler alert, this was my favorite one of them all. It glided more easily, it looked smoother, and it gave the width and the depth that I thought looked best. The cedar was easy to work with. It was soft enough that you could see a good burn on the first pass, but I did go over it a second and even a third time in some places to get the look that I wanted. You also have to go slow to get a good burn, and the instructions say to pull the wood burner towards you for safety. I made this one for my oldest daughter, Harlow, and here is me showing it to her, and it seems like she approved. I moved on to a block of pine. It was even softer than the cedar, so the wood burner could get stuck in the grain. You can see the lines of the wood grain, and let's speed this up again. It looks good in the end, but the grain keeps it from looking as good as a cedar, in my opinion. Now I moved on to bamboo. This is a cutting board that I had that split. I glued the splits closed, and you can see the discoloration of the glue at the top of the board, but it makes for a good piece to practice on. Bamboo was the easiest to work on. The wood burner glided across the bamboo, and it burned faster, and it did better in one pass than the cedar and the pine. Don't forget to erase the pencil lines, or just go slower than I did when you write so that you don't have lines to erase to begin with. I grabbed another cedar block to test out the last two tips. I started with the chisel tip, at least that's what I'm calling it. The wood burner had been turned off and cooled, so it was safe for me to put this tip on with my hands. The tip basically wanted to just burn a thin, deep line into the wood. I changed to what I'm calling the calligraphy tip. It also was not a favorite of mine. It took more passes and it had to be used at a slower rate. I gave up, let my dad try it out, and then I changed back to a round tip for him to finish this block. When I was done using the wood burner, I used pliers to remove the tip. The instructions said that the tips could freeze into place if it wasn't removed. So, what did I think? Let's wrap up my final thoughts. The cedar was easy to work with when I went slow and gave it 2 passes at least. The pine was similar in the speed and the need to go over the names multiple times, but the grain showed when burning. I do like the contrast of the color of the burn against the light color of the pine though. The bamboos seem to win the day though, with being faster to burn and gliding more easily. And winner for MVP tip goes to the rounded tip. If you're a wood burning pro, please leave me your advice, tips, and input in the comments. I would love to get better at this and to learn more. Thanks so much for watching, and leave me a comment letting me know what project you think I should try next.